Hi everyone, and welcome back to my blog diaries. Okay, so today I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the underlying issues with my new novel, Needle in a Haystack, is being prepared as we speak. Now, as you will have known from my previous blog, if you've been following me all this time, that Needle in a Haystack is written in the form of a diary, written by Charlie Duke, my main character from How to Love. And one of the major issues that come up for her during her time as a young child at school is bullying. Now, I know this subject has been covered a million times before, and there's been a lot of publicity about it, anti-bullying campaigns, etc. This is purely just me talking about my own personal experiences, how I've related my own personal experiences of receiving bullying, and how I've turned that into some of the work that I'm doing now in my writing. Now, we all know as adults that a lot of the reasons behind bullying is because of two major factors, really. Ignorance and fear. Most case scenarios when people are being bullied, it's because there's someone within a group of people's social circles, either at school or at work or out and about just as friends if you're slightly older, just a bit different. Now in my case it was a disabled person going to a mainstream school. I was the first person in the whole of my county of Shropshire to go to a mainstream school at the age of 12, and I was put into a school of 600 people, and I was the only disabled person there, and there was no preparation whatsoever for me or for the school or for the students. I went for about a year on a part-time basis to get to grips with it a little bit, but there was no work done in terms of integrating me into the school and school life, and talking with the students to give them a better understanding of who I was and what it was like for me to be a disabled person, because a lot of the students that were at school had never come across anyone with a disability before, so it was completely alien to them, so they had no knowledge. So they decided that because of that they would turn their fear and their ignorance into bullying. Now for me, this evolved into feeling a great deal of peer pressure and a sense of not fitting in. I tried desperately to make friends, particularly with the group of students that were in my form year, and it turned out to be the people that I was trying to impress the most, because that's what you do as a kid. You try and fit in, try and impress, you try and be a bit like them or be a bit different to the degree that they'll be impressed by that, and they'll allow you to fit into their group. It just so happened that these people obviously couldn't cope with having somebody like me in their class, and they decided to turn those fears into bullying. Now, a lot of this went on supposedly behind my back, but there were incidences that I caught them talking about me behind my back, doing things, and putting me up for things, and voting for me, doing things in school that they knew I wasn't going to be any good at, that I was going to fail at and make myself look stupid, but they put me up there, and me thinking, oh, that's them supporting me and being my mate, but actually they were doing it for a laugh. Now, this was all, I was there as supposedly to integrate into the mainstream school society, but unfortunately, there was none of what I think needed to happen. Integration supported by education. The only person educating the rest of the students, the teachers, was me. I was put in that situation. I was put in a situation where I couldn't even do half the classes because the school wasn't ready for me. The school board at the time said that there was no funding available through the Education Authority to make the relevant adaptations for me to integrate fully into school. So I missed 70% of my lessons because they were all upstairs. Science, the libraries, all that sort of thing. So I ended up being segregated again from them a lot of the times during school by having one-to-one lessons and missing out on that integration and bonding with your classmates. I missed out on that, so again I was outcast, which led me to have really low self-esteem, to no self-esteem, and the bullying just got worse and worse and worse, and I hated school. I tried to educate, I tried to do things in my own way by kind of showcasing my talents. I did a little bit of music and, you know, tried to do things in assembly, you know, to show that I was just as good as them at certain things. Didn't work. Just made it worse, just made me more of a target. And I think a lot of the reasons why I didn't get more support from school in particular was partly my fault because I didn't speak up, because at the time I was fearful of any repercussions. I wasn't strong enough to stand up against the bullies and just let them get on with it. I just wanted an easy life. I got to the point where I thought, right, I need to just put my head down, forget about making friends, do the best I can in school and get the best results possible, and watch people go off for sleepovers and holidays together, you know, without me being included, which was really, really tough. And this started me having a really, really low self-esteem about myself. At the same time, towards the end of my time at school, other things on a personal level started to happen within me as a person. And I realised not only was I the only person in a mainstream school with a disability and come to terms with all that, but I suddenly realised that I was a little bit different in terms of, at the time I wasn't sure whether I was bi or whether I was lesbian, but this new word and this whole new concept of a way of life started to be branded around my head, and started to see things in the media, and I was very, very confused, and I really needed somebody to talk to about it. There was nothing in school. There was nothing there whatsoever, and so I spent many, many, many years in the closet because of it. Tried to have successful friendships that I knew, you know, individuals were also gay, and tried to sort of quietly introduce myself into that kind of environment and start secret relationships, but that didn't happen because I was too fearful of the consequences. I was terrified of coming out to the family. So I was leading a double life. Now, something that I've learned about myself, having a low self-esteem, not being true to who I was, meant that I was leaving myself open to people wanting to take advantage of my good nature and of my vulnerability. Being a disabled person out there as well put me physically in a very vulnerable position. So my advice to anybody that's got a disability that wants to get more friends out of school, maybe you're having a tough time at school, or anybody out there that's, you know, that's coming to terms with your own sexuality or whatever, or both, choose your friends wisely. Speak to somebody that you know you can really trust. And obviously don't forget, the internet now means that there's so many groups out there that can support you, so many local groups that you could tag along to and start meet like-minded people. That was something that I really wish I'd had more of an opportunity to be involved with at school. But because I was so different, you know, my parents found it easier to be very overprotective and not allow me to go out and do these, you know, many things and get involved in youth clubs and whatever, because they didn't think that there would be anybody there to take care of me properly. So I missed out. But not everybody's in the same position as me, so I would say choose your friends wisely. Find a group. I mean, I was lucky enough much later in life when I found myself really isolated. I'd recently lost my partner. My health took a turn for the worse. Lost my job, and I was totally isolated. I'd been away from the area for quite some time because of my relationship. Was thrust back into my local community, and I had no idea where to go. And that's when I discovered Hellfest. So, and those of you that have been following my journey will know how much of an impact Hellfest has had on me. I probably wouldn't be talking to you on this blog now if it wasn't for that. So finding that festival for me was the key. So choose your friends wisely. Rely on people that you know you can rely on properly and trust. Find groups of the similar interests that can support you. Never underestimate how long the effects of bullying can last. When you're told over so long that you're never going to be any good, that you're this, that you're that, it might be that you're fat, it might be that you're ugly, it might be that you're boring, it might be that you're useless because you can't run up the field and play football, or that's because you're in a wheelchair. Those words, those bullying words can last with you for a really long time. And you have to address them and realise that actually it's not about you at all. It's actually more about the bullies hiding their own feelings about themselves and their own self-esteem. So it's not about you. It's about the other people. Don't let other people tell you that you're not good enough, that you'll never get anywhere because you're this, you're that, you know, you'll never get anywhere in life because you're gay, or you can't be ambitious because you're in a wheelchair, you'll never get the job that you want. It's not true. Don't listen to that. If you want something, if you want happiness in your life, the first thing you've got to do, and I've learnt this through my own personal journey that I've been on, accept yourself. Love yourself. Know that you get up every day and you are the best person you can possibly be that day. Nobody can ever take that away from you. Before you can allow people to come into your life and see the real you, you've got to know what the real you is, who the real you is, and you've got to love that person. Even though you think there's things that you need to work on, knowing that is allowing yourself to love yourself enough to realise that, yeah, you've got flaws, but with the right guidance and with the right support, you can make those things better for yourself. And ultimately, be happy, because that's what we all want. And at the end of the day, that's what the bullies want. But the only reason why they bully you is because there's something about them in their lives that they're not quite fully satisfied with, and the only way that they can detract their minds and their focus about that in themselves is to pick on somebody else. Don't let that be you. Remember who you are and that you're loved. There's people out there that are just the same as you, in very similar circumstances. There are groups out there.